What is going on, everybody? Another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures. And today's episode, I'm taking everything through 12 volt. We're going to be doing some stuff in the tray, doing the whole new 12 volt setup from the main battery to the secondary battery, going to the DC charger that I got from Kick-Ass Products. So all that's going to be in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first tip I can give you, when you're running cabling and all that kind of stuff, what you want to do is make sure the cabling is running on top of the chassis rail. Another thing you don't want to do is put the cabling anywhere near suspension, axle, brake lines, or anything like that. Anything that's going to move or maybe get pinched by something. One really easy way to start a fire. And most cars will have wires already running across the chassis rail, so you should be able to find a area where you can cable tie them to or anything like that. Otherwise, you can get some of these big cable ties and run it actually around the chassis. But I'm just going to run these wires underneath the car and then put them in the engine bay. Get it all neat and tidy, and we'll go to the next step of the video, which is joining everything up, getting the Anderson plugs all plugged in, and then running the DC to DC charger. So we'll jump into that next. So one thing I do when I'm talking about my engine bay is I try to keep the wires as short as possible. So I'll just show you what I mean. So sort of seeing here, wire coming up, going through here, but you don't really want to have any more wires going into the engine bay, so you don't want to have loose wires everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have more wire in the actual back of the car. So in the back of the car, in here, I'm going to give myself a little bit more wire coming through here, so that actually gives me a little bit more room to move, a little bit more flexible. I just find that less wires in the engine bay is better, less things going around there, there's a lot of moving parts in there, so less stuff going on there, the better. But yeah, it's just less, clutter and that kind of stuff as well. And I can hide it a lot easier in the actual tray. So I can hide it underneath the car. If I've got a little bit extra, I can just loop it and then cable tie it together. So just sort of a bit of a tip is don't put too much wiring in the engine bay when you're doing dual battery kits and that kind of stuff. Alright, so one little tip I want to show you is if you haven't got a Anderson crimper to essentially crimp these Anderson plugs, what you can use is a soldering iron, some solder, and you can get the cable, essentially shove the cable in there like so, fill it up with solder, and that will last for years on end. That's pretty much how I've done most of my Anderson plugs, because I've never actually bought the actual Anderson crimper. Because I think they're about $100 and some bucks, and those don't use enough 12 volt to justify getting one. But a trick I learned is getting one of those things, putting in vise or crimps, obviously, because they get really hot, and putting your cable in there, fill it up with solder, and it'll stay there for years and years. I've done it with pretty much all my 12 volt stuff, and I've never had an issue with Anderson plugs, the cables falling out or anything like that. So just another little tip for everyone playing at home. How this works, pretty simple. It's all been labelled anyway. So you've got outlet, that's going to your secondary battery. This is coming from your first battery. This is solar. This here is a heat sensor, so you put that onto your negative of your battery. You have an ignition if you want to do both batteries at once, and then you have a LED which goes to a ground. So pretty simple. We all know this cable here it's gone through the underneath the car to my engine bay, so that would go into here like so. So you click those together, and then the cable we just did with the two connections, that would be going from an Anderson plug into here, and then you're going to get two eyelets on this side and connect them to the main battery. So sorry, to the secondary battery, and that's pretty much it. And then this guy here, I'm going to mount into a little box, so it's hidden away from the elements, and I'll show you that in two shakes. That's pretty much it. And then yeah, when the 250 watt solar panel comes down, I'll be putting that into this with another Anderson plug, and you're ready to rock and roll. And then this guy here will be running the whole system, so I'm pretty keen to get into that. So I'm going to join this up, get these guys all hooked up, mount this guy here into the box, mount that in the car, and then yeah, I can start getting everything hooked up. Alright, next step, I've put the DC to DC charger in the box. So as I said, it's actually in an ammo box. So it's actually a little bit different, but I've spray painted it black to make it match obviously all the stuff happening in the tub. But this is what it looks like. So just going to neaten this up, spray paint these 4 bolts black. There's a hole at the back there for all the cables and that kind of stuff to go through. And on this side, This is actually a fully sealed unit. It was used to be green back in the day. You can actually see under there I've mounted the actual DC to DC charger, and I've also started doing a cigarette lighter in there. But you can see all the cables and that kind of stuff going through, so that all hides away nicely and keeps it all weatherproof and all the good stuff. So the benefit of these ammo boxes is they're pretty cheap. They're only about 19 bucks, and you're obviously recycling that kind of stuff, but they're very, very weatherproof, and obviously put a bit of silicone where you've drilled holes and that kind of thing, just to make sure no water gets through the holes you've drilled. But they're perfectly great for 12 volt and that kind of stuff. This is going to be always out in the elements, so the reason I put them in this box and not just mounting it somewhere in the tray is it's going to get rained on and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to make sure that you know, the real expensive DC to DC charger that I invested into, which is IP67 rated, so it can handle a bit of rain and that kind of stuff. But if you go one step to stop it from, you know, getting damaged from rain, then why not? So yeah, next step, I'm just going to connect it all up. I'm just going to mount that ammo box into the actual back of the tray, and from there, we're ready to rock and roll with the next step. Alright, so last piece of the puzzle, DC to DC charger is all hooked up. I have hooked up the solar panel, the 250 watt, just there. Almost acts like a bit of a roof, which is awesome. I've ran the wiring and that kind of stuff from the main battery, and I've put it all into the ammo box, and I'll just show you what that looks like in 2 shakes. So as this whole thing has probably taken me about an hour, but it's been relatively easy because the DC to DC charger is all Anderson plugged, ready to go, so you just got to connect everything up, so that's nice and simple. But I suppose with electronics, the one thing I've learned doing this for years and years and years, from when I was putting stereos in Commodores to doing 12 volt and that kind of stuff to, you know, like even 4 drives, is everything to do with your work, make sure you are very thorough, because with 12 volt you can cause dramas like fires and all that kind of thing pretty easily if things start rubbing, and, you know, like rubbing on metal and they join and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you don't want to have anything sort of rubbing or being able to rub on anything. Essentially that's metal that might fray the wires. So just make sure you get some conduit and all that kind of stuff, that everything that looks like it's going to be a little bit, you know, a little bit iffy, get some conduit and all that kind of stuff on the main pieces. So I'll just show you through now all the pieces of the puzzle that and everything that's been wired up and cleaned up, and everything that's been cable tied up, and how I've gone about it. So I'll go through it all one by one. So first things first, we have the junction box, which has the 2 wires which go down here, all neat and tidy, hides behind the water pump there, and then it goes into the ammo box, and then you have the wires down there, which I'm just going to tidy up in a bit, and then we have the battery. So in the ammo box just here, I'll just get in there for you now. We have the main unit itself. So at the moment, somehow it's picking up a little bit of solar in here, but anyway, that is what it is. But we have it on the wet battery type, because I am running a wet battery, and then you have all the cables and that kind of thing going underneath there, which is all nice and neat and tidy, and all this here is going to be conduited up, so there's no rubbing or anything like that. This won't be open too much, so I just want to make sure all the rubbing and that kind of stuff isn't going to make any dramas long term. It's not going to be open too many times, but long term is what I'm thinking. And then from the main battery, I've just got me Anderson plug going into my fridge, so I'll just show you that now. So just from the battery, I've got an Anderson plug down there, which is going into my fridge wiring. So the wire for the fridge just here, that's ready to go. So as obviously the fridge is going to sit here, but that's ready to go as well. All Anderson plugged with a 30 amp fuse. Another tip is fuse everything. If you're running a positive to anything, put a fuse on it. Fridges, I'd say 30 to 50 amp. I'll put 30 on there just in case. So nothing wrong with going a little bit lower, and that is pretty much the whole system. So as I said, this system took I feel like saying probably just over an hour actually, but anyone can do this. If you've got any kind of 12 volt and that kind of stuff knowledge, you should be able to do this quite easily. And as I said, it's not a big job. It's nice and easy to do, and yeah, you can easily save yourself a lot of money by doing it yourself, which is always a win. So from here, pretty much the 12 volt system, I'm going to have a battery voltage meter from the secondary battery on the back panel. I used to have it there previously on one of the wings, so I'm going to redo that, and so I can have just a monitor of what's going on with the main battery. And I'm going to put an inline amp gauge, which tells me essentially how much power I'm drawing from the system. That's going to be all tucked away in the ammo box. And I mean, the solar panel itself is 250 watt, so I don't really think I'm going to have an issue with power. I could run a fridge and freeze in here all day and not have a drama. That's a 100 amp hour battery, so with a 250 watt solar panel on the roof, with a DC to DC charger, but it's getting 20 volts from the actual solar panel itself in full light, which I've just tested on the multimeter. So that DC to DC charger is going to be absolutely pumping everything into that battery and keeping it nice and safe in the meantime. So yeah, that might be it for this one, but that's been another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Comment if you have any questions, but that's my new 12 volt setup. There's going to be obviously plenty more added to it, but for now, that's where it's pretty much going to stay. And yeah, I want to go test it out in the bush and see how it goes for my first camping trip, so that should be pretty cool. But as I said, I'll leave it there. So if I don't see you in the next video, I might see you out in the traction trails, and if I don't see you in the traction trails, I shall see you later. Bye!